I went to Champion. They weren't going to do anything. And then Mike Morrissey and I decided we needed there needed to be a paper. So we published Model Car Journal, which gave race reports and how to build the latest cars.
All right, brother.
I hooked up with Mura, and that's when, for me, that's when everything went really well. Racing-wise, I did well racing, but actually I did much more promoting. I went on tours, New England sometime, Mid-Atlantic, South, different places, and sometimes I had a salesman with me, and I'd race or I'd put on an exhibition. Back with Pete and I, in between these jobs with Riggin and with Mura and Champion and all these different things, Pete was still living at my house, and we still worked together on cars. So we would go racing, and I ran Zimmerman Motors a lot, but there was no future in running Zimmerman Motors.
My mom told me that.
Oh yeah, they were great. They were great. In fact, I'll tell you this is a true story. Mura hires me. He gives me 7 silver wire motors that aren't going to last a minute in real pro racing. Sends me to New York, to Bronx Raceway, to race Howie and the other guys. And I show up there, and those motors lasted about 10 minutes total. They all blew up. So I had a Zimmerman motor with me. I put it in and won the race. Okay? So Ron Mura flies out. You know, he flew out to look at this. He checked it out, and he bought us first class tickets for the way home. So we got on the airplane and we were flying home, and basically that's when I told him that the only way that you and I and the motor business and Cukras racing and all this kind of thing is going to turn out something, we have to make a motor as good as or better than Zimmerman's. That's exactly the way I sold it to him. I pitched it to him, sold it to him, and they bought it. Within a couple of months, they spent a lot of money, you know, 6 figures to acquire tooling, make new tooling, etc., to put out a really great motor, and they did. They put out a really great motor. Well, with Mura, I made a deal with them people that they would sell to the custom winders, the blanks, the comms, the stuff they needed, and especially to Pete. You know, I didn't really care if he sold them to the other guys, but with Mura spending the money and producing the state-of-the-art stuff, Pete had it available. So his motors always had the best, like that. So it wasn't all one-sided, you know, wasn't all one-sided. But it would have been wonderful if we could have ran together and you know, kind of like been a team throughout that period, that 4 to 5 year period. But it just couldn't happen. We couldn't generate enough money. I needed money for travel. You know, I had to go to all these races.
So what did Pete do while you were gone traveling?
He wound.
I built motors.
Made motors. Yeah.
I raced Southern California series, you know, with different drivers. I had John, and then I had Anderson, who came back from Sweden on one of his trips. And then I got Terry, I had Warmack, I had Garcia.
We have a little commemorative thing that we
I
want
don't
to
even
give to
remember all the
somebody.
other guys. I think that's it.
Okay, this is
And I ran once in a while, but I quit racing
for
because I just didn't have time.
And also in commemoration of
and I wasn't
him
a good
being
driver.
charter member of the USRA
But
when
I
it was
could get
founded
a
from the
fast
very
lap every
beginning.
so often. I knew how to drive
This
fast, but I
jacket
just couldn't keep them on.
Is a present from us to.
Well, started Christmas 1958. My brother got me a Skate Electrics slot car set made in England. I was born 50, so I was 8 years old. And then nothing really much became of that because we immigrated to California in 1962 from Sweden.
Which part of Sweden?
Up by northern part, up by Lapland.
Oh, okay, wow.
Hanging with the reindeers and the Laplanders. So then we get to New York, and then we end up in Costa Mesa, California, and I'm still here. For a spell, I did go in high school and junior high in Anaheim, and that's where I met Brian Warmack. Yeah. And because then again, my brother bought me a slot car set for Christmas of 1963. And so I fiddled and modified it and put a little Pitman RP 66 motor, because it initially came with these SP 500 Revels, and they were very slow. So I shoehorned a Pitman RP 66 into the frame and went down to the local raceway, and guy says, well, you know, that thing runs pretty good, you know, but I got a friend that'll probably outrun your car. So I go, whatever. So he was talking about Brian Warmack, you know. So I don't know if I met him first at the raceway or if we run into each other in school, but we became friends like this, and so anyways, there was so many raceways around back in those days, in the mid-60s. You know, I mean, we went racing. We could go racing every evening of the week at a different raceway. That's how many places there were. But you know, that only lasted for 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Brian, we got good. We got to run factories and sponsored, and people sent us airline tickets, and it was like really neat, you know. I was still in school, you know. I graduated in '69, and of course, then when we got our driver's license and whatnot too, we got to go up to run with the guys in LA. Because when we first hooked up, we weren't even 16 yet. So, you know, we were kind of low buck or no bucks, but we were still cocky enough. We were going to go up to and run down the LA crowd, you know, which was Team Ruskit and Morrissey, Dynamic, you know, Mira, John Cukras, Morrissey, all those fast West Coast guys. And we went up there and we got our butt kicked real good, so that ended that.
The thing about my beginning in slot car racing with these guys, was one day at a little track in San Pedro. Pete Zimmerman and I think John Cukras came over there, and I had a car that was working pretty good there, but I hadn't been running with these guys. And all of a sudden, my car looks like it stopped going backwards compared to theirs. Zimmerman had this car that had one of these Ruskit motors, and he swore it hadn't been opened up and modified, but later on he told me it had, where he'd taken some turns off and just to even up the balance on the armature, you know. And oh well, maybe he advanced the timing a little bit, you know. So he ended up winning the thing. He came off several times and still beat me by a couple of laps, and I came off like once that I didn't get knocked off, you know. And I go, hi, these guys are fast, so I better go try to race with them. So all of a sudden I'm going to Long Beach to J&J's, I'm going to Paramount and I'm going to Bellflower Raceway, and met the Stubies and John, and you know, it was a panic. Watching Stubies run, and then one night at J&J's, you may remember this, Billy's qualifying. And remember there was what is there, wiggles across, the S's are across from the driver's side. So, and everybody got what, 3 laps? You got 3 laps to qualify, your best lap. And he was coming off in the S's every time. So he'd walk around there, get down low, adjust the car, beat the guide into the slot, tweak it.
Mike Stubby's brother?
Yeah, Billy. Yeah. And finally, after the 3rd time that happened, he'd go around the track, and you know, because when he'd pick it up, he'd go put it on the straightaway. He'd come around the track and he'd come off in the S's, you know. So finally, what was Jim Gallagher? Jim Gallagher said, "Come on, Billy, get a lap in. You know it's you, not the car." He says, "Yeah, but I got to make it look sano, don't I?" Yeah. I died. I just fell apart. It was so funny.
He may have been in the service that time.
I think he might have.
Came in with his
right. So anyway, that's I started running with these guys, and it was a lot of fun. My best race was at Rolling Hills Raceway, and I came 3rd after getting knocked off into the infield. It cost me a lap, and I only ended up a lap behind, so that was pretty good. Well, I was on the checkpoint team with the Stubies, and Terry Schmidt was on it for a while, and then he left and went to another team, and we went to Don's Raceway that bought, he bought the checkpoint track, and we went over there, and all the checkpoint guys were the top qualifiers, and we ran the race like guarding. We guarded let's see, Henline and Mike, and they ended up winning it. I think Mike won that. No, Henline must have won it. He won all the Formula One races.
Yes, I was there.
Okay, but I was guarding on one side, and Dave Howard was guarding them on the other. So we had that working like a Mercedes team guarding Fangio and Moss in the 50s, right? That's the way it was, man. That was so great because we did a heck of a good job in that one. I think I ended up 3rd or 4th.
What did you think of
He was my hero. He was one of my heroes. He was my mentor. And then finally, you know, he got me on Team Mirror with him, you know, and I also raced on Team Zimmerman. You know, I got past, and then Team Checkpoint, of course. So I was all over the place.
That's cool, man. That's really cool.
I was on Team Mirror.
He did. We went to Columbus together. We even flew.
Yeah, we flew back there.
Yeah, we went on plane trips, man.
On my team? I don't know. I didn't race on your team very long.
See, he says he knows everything. He doesn't even remember when. There you go. Told you.
Well, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, whether we racing the slot cars or driving real cars and stuff. I mean, most of us are lucky to be alive. We would get the Pacific S's in Long Beach. We would go back and get the car going a mile before and take the Pacific S's as fast as we could go.
Wow.
And just make another lap as fast as we could go on ramps and off ramps.
You guys went to slot car racing on the main streets.
Oh man, I remember one of the first times we went to Long Beach and met Pete and Cukras and those guys. We went for a ride with Pete Zimmerman. There was 6 of us in the car. I think it was me, Terry Schmidt, Cukras, Pete, and maybe somebody else. Six of us in this car. Pete's old Dodge. And there was a place called the San Antonio Slime Pit. Always had water. Well, and I'm not used to this. And Pete's driving this thing like a madman. It hits this water. The whole car's sideways, crashes into the curb, up the curb, and we limp back to Cukras' house. I think they come and haul the car away the next day, but riding with Pete was an experience.
Crazy.
And then he got an MG, I think a brand new MG. I think he, sometime after that, brand new MGB GT, lasted about 6 months, destroyed.
You guys remember back when we came back from a San Antonio race over there and we were shooting fireworks out the windows at the cars behind us, lighting cherry bombs and waiting for a fuse to just almost go and then flip it out the back, out the window, and try to hit the car in the back. You know, we did that down the road through Arizona.
Texas. Yeah, really.
Yeah. And we stayed at a Holiday Inn. I remember this very well because we had these bottle rockets, and we were opening up our window and we were shooting out the Holiday Inn sign. and people were down the hallway. We'd stick our heads out the hallway and shoot them down the hallway at their doors.
I never was in this one.
Yeah, you had to been in there.
I wasn't in that one.
Not to mention, you know, we probably destroyed a couple rooms, hotel rooms, you know. You know, the normal palm trees and the swimming pool stuff.
Yeah, that was another, this story, I got to bring this in now that Terry brought that up. I had a racing partner one time for a while named Pete Von Ahrens, who was, he liked to be Black Bart and Mr. Bad Guy. And he even dressed the part. And his favorite hotel when we went places was Howard Johnson's, because he would take, they always had Formica countertops. So he would put a jig on there and drill in the Formica, put the pins in, he'd build his chassis until it buckled, and then he'd move down and make another one. So by the time we moved out of the room, there's 4 or 5 of these chassis drill things all melted down the board. And we never got busted. I don't know how.
I don't know, but
I swear they could have sent us a bill, and they never did.
But I do remember leaving hotel rooms with some of these guys, and we'd take $20 bills on the mirror.
Yeah.
Just so we got nothing back from them. Thank you, Jeff. Normally we never heard.
Down in New Orleans one time, at the New Orleans Arco, I'm sitting there. There was like 6 guys building cars in this one room. And you know, there's little scraps of brass and stuff all over the place. The maids came in and took every one of them scraps and had them set for us on the table so we could get them the next day. And she goes, "What are you guys building in here?" And she looks at, we showed him the car, and he goes, "What are those, rat traps?"
Rat traps. Yeah, we're building a better rat trap.
Oh God, I thought we were gonna lay an egg, man.
I could tell you some stories of Pete's.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Where's the beach?
All right, we're going to San Antonio from Long Beach. So we get our slot car boxes all packed, and it's about a brand new MGB GT, about a 1968 or so.
Yeah, earlier.
Yeah, so he gets on the on-ramp, and he's, as usual, just way over his head, and loses the car and ends up in the ice plants. And fortunately, tries to come back into the on-ramp and slides into the curb and just wipes out two of those wire wheels. So, you know, yeah, I bought some extra ones at the junkyard, he said. So we'll just head to the house. We'll put on some other ones. But that was Pete, you know, that's the way he drove. So
where was it that, you know, we blew up the car, the Rambler, and he changed a motor in the car at a motel in Cincinnati, was it? I said, that's out of here. I gotta go visit my girlfriend. I'm out of here. See you, Pete.
Yeah, he flew home, he chickened out.
Yeah, I said, that's enough for me, you know, I helped him, you know.
You got Bunty lonely.
I got Bunty lonely, yeah. But yeah, the hotel guy took all of our bags, and, you know, because he was making a mess, and we were making a mess there in the parking lot. He says, that's it, you know. So he, remember you...
we were just changing the generator then.
Yeah. Well, he took all our stuff, put them behind the counter, and says, that's it, you guys aren't getting this back to whatever, you know. And so that didn't sit right with Pete. I remember Pete going, so he went there, he got all our slot car boxes and stuff from behind the counter of the manager.
Get these cars up here. They're
I wasn't going to let us take our stuff, man. Get out of here. As soon as I get my car running, I'll be gone.
A bunch of us down in Texas, at San Antonio, it'd be about 1968, and the big race down there. And Cukras won it. He ran a couple laps with his car and knew it was great, and so he won the race. And after the race, they were trying to get us to come to Tucson track. Okay. And so we went down there, started driving back west. Well, there was like 4 carloads of us. And the deal was we had to get there quick, because we drove to El Paso, and we went 500 miles in 5 hours. Texas is real big, but there's a lot of straightaway. So we're going along, getting bored with only going 100 miles an hour or so, 110. And one of the cars was a Mustang, and we had to slow down for it because the water temperature would get too high. But we'd go in and make pit stops, and we had a good routine going where one guy go get the food, another guy do the gas, other guy go to the restroom and get some drinks and stuff, and out we'd go, you know. Well, we 4 cars, we were making pit stop in 10 minutes and out, and less than that, bam, gone. And so, but we're going along, and if there are cars ahead of us, we'd pass them. It didn't matter which side, we'd pass them on both sides, 18-wheelers and everything. And we're just crazy enough, we turned the headlights off, turned the interior lights on, turned on the flashers, and put the wrong turn signal on, go around the trucks on the right, big wide right on the side, you know. It was amazing. It was just amazing, the whole thing. And we get there in time for the race, and we went and qualified, and I qualified fastest, and then I said, well, I'm tired, I'm going to go for sleep. So I went to sleep under the track, and I said, oh, wake me up before the main event. Well, they wake me up like 5 minutes before the main event, and I just went slow through the first heat. Oh man, am I going fast? I couldn't tell. And so that messed me up. I finally woke up in the second heat and then did a little better, you know.
So Pete, what do you remember about your traveling scene? I
never traveled that much. I went to New York and they rolled me. Got my wallet after I sold a bunch of armatures so I could buy a ticket home. Had to borrow money from John so I could fly home.
I used to keep a $500 bill folded up in my wallet in a corner so you couldn't see it. Just to have for emergency. It's the only time I ever used it was to fly Pete home when he got rolled. Yeah, somehow, well, one of the things is when I was with Champion and Mira, I had this'll date me, and I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but I had the best credit card there was in the 60s. It was Phillips 66.
Oh yeah.
Because you could use it for Best Western and several other hotels.